My objective is to show the interconnectedness of various occult societies, such as Freemasonry, the Ordo Templi Orientis, the Order of the Silver Star, Rite of Memphis Mizraim. I'm going to expand upon the history, a little bit of the history, or rather just the interconnectedness, how certain people interweave with each other, such as Aleister Crowley, Jack Parsons, Werner von Braun, Walt Disney, L. Ron Hubbard, even, and how some of these societies and their beliefs intersect and what a couple of different things mean. So, with that, I'm going to be showing a video from Dr. Carol Rosen, who was the personal assistant to Werner von Braun. But before I do that, I want to read her background. This is what's on Wikipedia. Surprisingly, they don't seem to smear her all that badly. So, Carol S. Rosen, born March 29th, 1944, is an American speaker, author, educator, futurist, and military strategist. She is the founder of the Institute for Security and Cooperation in Outer Space. She was also the first female executive of an aerospace company, working as a corporate manager of Fairchild Industries, executive director of the Peace and Emergency Action Coalition for Earth, Peace, Inc., and the Idea Foundation, as well as a World Peace Ambassador for the International Association of Educators for World Peace. It's very strange to me that they don't smear her. Everything's a psychological operations nowadays, so who knows, right? But anyway, born in Wilmington, Delaware, 1944, Bachelor's of Science from University of Delaware. That's all great. Anti-satellite weapons, Strategic Defense Initiative. During her time at Fairchild, Rosen served as the spokesperson for Dr. Werner von Braun, with whom she created the film and educational program It's Your Turn to expand the diversity of people working in science fields. The program won many awards, so on and so forth. So let's go back to... it's blocked off now. We'll just use this link. The video of Carol Rosen.
In 1974, after being a sixth grade school teacher, I was introduced to the late Dr. Werner von Braun in the U.S., the father of rocketry. In my first meeting with him, during that first 3.5 hours, he said to me, "Carol, you will stop the weaponization of space." And I said, teachers don't stop until June. He said, "No, you have to understand, this is February, and we have to prevent the weaponization of space because there's a lie being told to everyone that the weaponization of space is now first being based upon the evil empire, the Russians. There are many enemies," he said, "against whom we're going to build this space-based weapon system. The first of whom was the Russians, which was existing at that time. Then there would be terrorists. Then there would be third world countries. Now we call them rogue nations or nations of concern. Then there would be asteroids." And then he would repeat to me over and over, "And the last card would be the extraterrestrial threat." Well, at the time, I kind of laughed when he said asteroids, and when he said extraterrestrials, I knew I wasn't going to deal with that subject. And now we hear on the news just today, this week, that they've slid in another enemy. Only this time we're going to protect our satellites. In other words, we have to have some reason to spend these trillions, to waste these dollars on a space-based weapon system, and they're all lies. This is a system, he told me, that would never protect anyone. Even back then, he talked about suitcase bombs. He talked about chemical, viral, bacterial, biological warfare, that these space-based weapons would never protect us against. And then he told me that, in fact, if you travel around the world, which I did after he died in 1977, I met with people in over 100 countries who were friends. They didn't want to build space-based weapons.
Okay. So the big takeaway, for me at least, being this alien psyop ridiculousness that you see being propagated. If you haven't done research into that, whomever is watching this or may find themselves upon this video in the future, just know that it's a very real thing. You have instances like this NASA PDF, which I've referenced in other videos, where they are clearly discussing, outlining UFO research. I have all of these various patents from Google, like triangular spacecraft, electromagnetic space-time continuum propulsion system, craft utilizing an inertial mass reduction device, the FBI records with the UFO nonsense. You have the Pentagon years ago in 2017 releasing supposed UFO videos, hyping up aliens. You have Dr. Stephen Greer doing his DC press conference, just I think it was like 2023 National DC Press Conference. You have so-called whistleblowers coming forth, government whistleblowers talking about UFOs and shit like that. It's a very real psychological operation that's being pushed, no matter how you look at it. This is that NASA PDF. I've referenced it before in a different video, but they say, it's not involved in UFO research. And then later on, they go on to state the field resonance propulsion concept has been developed utilizing recent research into the causes of solar flares, magnetic substorms, black holes, quasars, UFOs. Later on, UFO research. UFO studies indicate that the unexplained residual UFO phenomena may be due to extraterrestrial visitors, parapsychological experiences, or a combination of the two. If some UFO phenomena are caused by extraterrestrial visitors, very advanced spacecraft, so on and so forth. UFOs are often observed to disappear instantaneously. UFO later reappears. Abrupt stops or accelerations of UFOs, UFO propulsion systems. So, they're literally talking about, interdimensional entities in a fucking NASA PDF. And this is just one of many examples, right? It's just one of many examples. That electromagnetic space-time continuum propulsion system. What I'm getting at is that this is all propaganda. That's what this all is. This is all propaganda. Okay, so this is one of the reasons that I got into this stuff to begin with. It doesn't matter. The CIA talks about it, FBI talks about it, Pentagon talks about it. It's everywhere. It's a very obvious psychological operation. I'm not saying that I know it's true, but okay. So Wernher von Braun, why is he important? Why is his assistant important? Because Wernher von Braun is the guy who was brought. He's one of the Nazi scientists. He was the equivalent of a major in the Nazi SS during World War II. Rocket scientist. And he was brought over during Operation Paperclip and then given a whole new, a false history where they tried to make him look like some sort of great guy, when it's rumored that during his I don't even want to get into his history. He was a Nazi. You can look it up yourself if you feel like it. But he ultimately was integral in the foundation of NASA itself. He wasn't technically a founding member, but he was integral in the founding of NASA and their rocket program. So, German-American aerospace engineer, leading figure in the development of rocket technology in Nazi Germany, later pioneer of rocket and space technology in the United States. Von Braun worked in Nazi Germany's rocket development, helped design and co-develop the V-2 rocket. He worked with Walt Disney on a series of films which popularized the idea of human space travel. This is said to be how space travel really became, or the idea of the final frontier of space, which doesn't even exist in the way that they portray it, at least. This is said to be how it became really popularized in the first place. So, working hand in hand with Walt Disney. In the 1960s, his group was assimilated into NASA, where he served as director of the newly formed Marshall Space Flight Center and as the chief architect of the Saturn V super heavy lift launch vehicle that propelled the Apollo spacecraft to the moon. Okay. Wernher von Braun was also a childhood pen pal of Jack Parsons. He was a childhood pen pal. Let's see if they have it in here. Nope. Now, Jack Parsons was I'm not sure how it would be said. He was either the founder, one of the principal founders of both the Jet Propulsion Laboratory and Aerojet, and also absorbed into NASA. So he was a recognized Thelemite occultist, which is the occultism pioneered by Aleister Crowley, right? The renowned Satanist, as they say. So Jack Parsons was a childhood pen pal of Werner von Braun. Yes, American rocket pioneer and occultist Jack Parsons and German rocket scientist Werner von Braun maintained a long-distance correspondence and exchanged ideas about rocketry during their teenage years in the 1920s. Parsons, based in Pasadena, California, and von Braun, located in Germany, would talk for hours on the phone and share ideas, tips, and notes from their experiments. Okay. So these two were highly interconnected, and I've already established the Walt Disney connection with Werner von Braun and his role. Walt Disney's also recognized to have been an active FBI agent. Did you know Walt Disney was a spy for the FBI? Disney linked the FBI, and Hoover's disclosed Walt Disney was an FBI informant. When Walt Disney became a snitch for the FBI, did you know Walt Disney was a spy for the FBI? Walt Disney's FBI file records records a meeting between Bureau's Los Angeles special agent in charge and our imaginative child hero, Walt Disney. Walt Disney was an FBI informant. Okay. So Disney, Parsons, and then Jack Parsons. So they said Thelemite, right? Now, like I said, Thelema, this is where Aleister Crowley comes in. So Aleister Crowley, Thelema is the philosophical framework or magical framework that was established directly by Aleister Crowley. Its central text is the Book of the Law. That's the title of it. So Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard worked together. L. Ron Hubbard, as in the founder of Scientology, they worked together in a series of rituals called the Babylon or something like that. The Babylon working was a series of magical rituals performed in 1946 by L. Ron Hubbard and Jack Parsons with the goal of manifesting the Thelemite goddess Babylon on Earth. Parsons, a rocket scientist and occultist, and Hubbard, who would later found Scientology, collaborated on these ceremonies, which involved anarchy and magic and sexual rituals, so on and so forth. Okay, so now you have Parsons, who is the founder of Jet Propulsion Laboratory. You have Parsons as a childhood pen pal of Werner von Braun, who was integral in the founding of NASA and the head of their Marshall Space Flight Center, or whatever the hell it's called, said to have developed the Saturn V rocket that, or whichever number Saturn rocket, I think it was Saturn V, that supposedly took him to the moon. And then you have von Braun working with Disney to popularize this fake notion of the non-existent vacuum of space and the various scientific concepts that come along with it. And then you have von Braun's assistant talking about the space hoax. On von Braun's gravestone, you have Psalms 19:1. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Okay, so Aleister Crowley, the renowned Satanist that is interconnected in various ways with all of these individuals. So let's look at the Book of Thoth. So Aleister Crowley was the founder of the Silver Star. We're going to go all back up to the top of this. He's the founder of the Silver Star magical organization established in 1907 by Aleister Crowley. Yeah. So the Silver Star, established in 1907 by Aleister Crowley, is composed of 3 orders. These are the 3 orders. You have the Order of the Silver Star, the Order of the Rosy Red Cross, and the Order of the Golden Dawn, Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. So it's a successive series of initiations where the front order, the most exoteric, if you will, is the Order of the Golden Dawn. Then you work your way into the Rosy Red Cross, which is Rosicrucianism. Then you work your way directly into the Silver Star. So as you undergo these progressive initiations, you get deeper and deeper within these mystery rites and deeper within the organization. So all 3 of these are one order, founded by Aleister Crowley. So here, the reason I pulled this up is for a little bit of history. So the history of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, this is from Aleister Crowley's Book of Thoth. It's his dissertation on the tarot, or tarot. The society reconstituted by Dr. Westcott and his colleagues. So, let me come up a little bit. At the time of the French Renaissance of the 1850s, a similar movement took place in England. Its interest centered in ancient religions and their traditions of initiation and thaumaturgy. Learned societies, some secret or semi-secret, were founded or revived. Among the members of one such group, the Quatuor Coronati Lodge of Freemasonry, were 3 men among the Quatuor Coronati Lodge of Freemasonry. All 3 of them. Dr. Wynne Westcott, a London coroner, Dr. Woodford, and Dr. Woodman. There is little dispute as to which of these men went down to... Okay, so what happens is these 3 dudes go down somewhere. They pick up a book, as the story goes, that has a cipher, or they pick up a manuscript that has a cipher in it where they read these old traditions. They end up coming into contact with some other master, some other secret society, and reconstituting these ritual rites, founding the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn in its late 19th century inception, based on the rituals that they found within this book or manuscript, which was written in a cipher. Okay, so they established the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. So, continuing here, one must now digress into the history of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, the society reconstituted by Dr. Westcott and his colleagues, which is to say 3 Freemasons, in order to show further evidence as to the authenticity of the claim of the promulgators of the cipher manuscript. Among these papers, besides the attribution of the tarot, certain skeleton rituals, which purported to contain the secrets of initiation, the name of a Fraulein Sprengel was mentioned as the issuing authority. Dr. Westcott wrote to her, and with her permission, the Order of the Golden Dawn was founded in 1886. Now they explain here, the Golden Dawn is merely a name for the outer or preliminary order of the Rosy Red Cross, which is in turn an external manifestation of the Silver Star, which is the true order of masters. See Magic, page 229, 244, and that's what I just referenced over here. This is also a work of Aleister Crowley, Magic and Theory and Practice. Page 231, where they explain the various degrees of initiation and so on and so forth. So, it's originally founded, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, in its first conception, by 3 Freemasons. It collapses around 1900. In 1900, the order in its existing form was destroyed. For one reason or another, they had no innovation within their rights, or they had disputes upon leadership. Whatever caused it, didn't last very long. About 15 years order, it's destroyed. Crowley, under the name Frater Perdurabo, is just one of his pen names. Frater Perdurabo, which means I will endure to the last, or something like that. In 1904, so 4 years after the collapse of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn in its first conception, Crowley claims to make contact with the so-called secret chiefs through his own rites and rituals, and then he reconstitutes the order in the form of the Silver Star, the Rosy Red Cross, and the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Okay. So, where to go with this? So, Crowley, aside from having founded the Order of the Silver Star, he also headed up the Ordo Templi Orientis. In 1919, the OTO, that is the Ordo Templi Orientis, considered itself to be a close ally of the AA, both organizations having accepted the authority of the Book of the Law, although the OTO, being a temporal and fraternal society, in no way participates in the Silver Star's strictly hierarchic conspiratory initiatory program, nor does OTO represent the Silver Star transmit its functions or authority. Okay. As a good few people who are studying the occult know, like, they have a lot of compartmentalization. What you should be taking is that the Silver Star was established by Aleister Crowley, and the Ordo Templi Orientis was headed up by Aleister Crowley for quite some time. So the Ordo Templi Orientis, the origins of the Ordo Templi Orientis can be traced back to German-speaking occultists Karl Kellner, Theodor Russ, Hendrik Klein, Franz Hartmann. In its first incarnation, the Ordo Templi Orientis was intended to be modeled after and associated with European Freemasonry. As such, in its early years, only Freemasons could seek admittance. Only Freemasons could seek admittance. After the death of Roos, the English writer and occultist Aleister Crowley assumed control of the order. He had been inducted into the order by Roos in the early 1900s. While maintaining many core elements of Freemasonry and the intentions of both Kellner and Roos, the OTO was drastically changed. The guiding philosophy from this point on became Crowley's self-created occult system, that is, Thelema. Okay. So they claim to have stopped bestowing Masonic degrees and membership requirements, but you'll notice that Crowley joined when only Freemasons could seek admittance, which led me to ask, the OTO is only Freemasons. And then I said, doesn't that mean Crowley was initiated into Freemasonry? And they said, yes, but with a twist worthy of Crowley himself. He was initiated into Masonic bodies, but nearly all of them were irregular or unrecognized. It doesn't matter. Crowley's Masonic initiations, a patchwork of fringe rites, while in Mexico 1900 claimed initiation into the 33rd degree of the ancient accepted Scottish Rite, but this was through a small, likely irregular body. Okay, so he was initiated into the 33rd degree of the ancient accepted Scottish Rite. In 1904, initiated into craft Freemasonry at the Anglo-Saxon Lodge, operated under the Grand Lodge de France, which was not recognized by the United Grand Lodge of England at the time. I'm sure it is now, since they put at the time. Doesn't really matter. So he was initiated into craft Freemasonry and the 33rd degree of the ancient accepted Scottish Rite, which is to say, I want to say that's the Scottish and York rites, but I might be mistaking craft for the degrees of the York Rite. And then 1910, Crowley received honorary degrees from John Yarker, including the 33rd degree, 98th degree, and 95 degrees of the ancient accepted Memphis and Mizraim rites. So he was most definitely a Freemason. So what was I had something that I had wanted to. Oh, craft masonry. Is craft masonry the York Rite? Because it's so compartmentalized. No, it's not the same as the York Rite masonry. Prerequisite for joining the York Rite. Blue Lodge. Okay, that's just the Blue Lodge. Okay, it's just the Blue Lodge. So entered apprentice. What are there three? It's the entered apprentice, the fellow craft, and the master mason's degree, and that's the Blue Lodge. And then you go into the various other orders. So John Yarker, another Freemason, highly influential. So this is a book by John Yarker. This book provides a background necessary to understand elements of the Golden Dawn and OTO initiations. This is a Freemason writing this. Right? Particularly in matters like the inclusion of the Samothracian deities in the former and details of the lower and middle degrees. Okay. Yarker's thesis is to demonstrate universal and indigenous initiation in symbol and legend throughout the history and places of the world, and by relating the meanings and practices of ancient and modern Masonry through the 19th century to disclose the universal content of the rites and mysteries. Okay, so Yarker, who conferred multiple degrees upon Crowley, and who clearly writes here, remember, Hermetic Order, the Golden Dawn, and OTO were both headed up by Crowley. So here you have Freemason John Yarker writing a book which is necessary to understand elements of the Golden Dawn and OTO initiations. Yarker Phoenix Masonry, because I want to show some of the if I can find it, a life in, well, that's one of them. I want to see if I can find the where they're talking about some of his titles that he held. John Yarker. I don't know what these titles mean, so past Senior Grand Warden of Greece, Honorary Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Cuba, past Grand Constable or Marshal of the Tempi in England, in the Ancient Accepted Rite, which is the Ancient Accepted Scottish Rite, I'm assuming, Honorary 33rd degree in many countries, Grand Master General of the AMP Rite of Masonry, Grand or GH of the Confederate Nations 97th degree, Grand Master Sweden Borgen Rite, Honorary 9th degree of the Rosicrucian Society, etc., etc. Okay, like extremely influential. And this is the guy so involved with Freemasonry that conferred the degrees upon Aleister Crowley himself. Aleister Crowley headed up the Ordo Templi Orientis and started up the Order of the Silver Star. So here comes the Rejuvenate Eternia connection, Rejuvenate Eternia Regna connection. So whenever they talk about Satan, Freemasonry, they are always going to deny publicly anything that's going to make them look bad. It's the practice of taqiyya, which is usually associated with Islam, but it's just that if something makes you look bad, you don't talk about it. Don't talk about it out loud. Like, you're allowed to deny. Moreover, with Freemasonry, you're required to keep secrets. So the Exalted Devil, and this is talking about a magical formula, but the Exalted Devil, also the other secret eye, by the formulation of the initiation of Horus, elsewhere described in detail, this devil is called Satan or Shaitan and regarded with horror by people who are ignorant of his formula. This is the work of Aleister Crowley, by the way. And imagining themselves to be evil, accuse nature herself of their own phantasmal crime. Satan is Saturn, Set, Abraxas, Adad, Adonis, Attis, Adam, Adonai. Okay, so this is something that's really hard to communicate, particularly to ultra-religious types, but I myself don't follow any religion, so I don't have an issue seeing things the way they are. This is just to say, as above, so below. Right? I mean, that statement says it all. Satan is Saturn. He is Adonis. He is Attis. He is Adam. He is Adonai. That's how they see this type of stuff. Now, you can do with that what you will, because it's going to be written off like it's no big deal. But in my opinion, no matter how you try to philosophize it, if you have people that are openly claiming to believe in Satan, it probably, or not openly, I guess that's not the right way. In their own works, they claim it, but openly they deny it, right? It's probably a certain type of individual who has a certain lack of morals or a degree of compromised morals who is going to try and explain why Satan is a good thing. Right? And that's just my opinion on it, but it is what it is. I have no doubt that some people don't see it as a big deal, but I know that this world we live in is very strange, and there are a lot of things that I disagree with. And there's a lot of slave labor, right? So, Regiunt Saturnia Regna is a Latin phrase meaning the Saturnian reign's return. Now, this is a concept directly associated with Crowley's own beliefs, but it's written in his works. It would be kind of hard for me to find it in here because it doesn't want to find the text. I can try real quick. Or actually, maybe I can do it this way. It's 15. Well, sorry, I really don't feel like running through all these. So it's associated with the tarot. Crowley writes about it, but it's the same Regiunt Saturnia Regna, which is the return of Saturn's reign. Right? The Saturnian reign returns. As you saw already, Satan is Saturn. And that's how you end up with this type of thing in the federal pillars, which was celebrating the ratification of the Constitution of the United States, still available in the Library of Congress, where they talk about the return of Saturn's reign. What is it? For some reason, it doesn't want to load the page, but you can see it here in the smaller print, Regiunt Saturnia Regna. So this is specifically memorializing the ratification of the Constitution. They're saying this. Okay, so I mean, I'm just putting it out there, you know. So yeah, there's an extraordinarily strange occurrence within these various agencies and their own beliefs and the way they operate. These characters that you wouldn't think would be connected but are, and the beliefs they try to push upon humanity. They operate via psychological operation. They try to control the mind because everything is consciousness, everything is mind. So, yep. Hopefully you got something out of this that you didn't have before, understanding wise. And that's all I got. I'm going to leave it off there. All right, much love.